God has created each one of us with a profound purpose. Just like an inventor designs a machine to work optimally with the correct fuel, we too, as the chosen ones, were created to live in close connection with God. He is the source of our strength, our joy, and our peace. Think of a car. It cannot run if it's fueled by the wrong substance. In the same way, our souls cannot thrive when we are distant from God. He is the spiritual nourishment that we deeply depend on, and without Him, there is no lasting happiness or inner peace. If we seek satisfaction away from His presence, we will soon discover that it simply cannot be found outside of Him. As chosen ones, we walk a path that is filled with purpose and divine guidance, but this doesn't mean the journey will always be easy. There will be times when the road feels long and burdensome. We may face trials that push us to our limits, leaving us feeling exhausted, empty, and hopeless. Yet, in those moments of deepest struggle, we must remember that we are never alone. God sees each tear, hears every whispered prayer, and knows the pain that lies deep within our hearts. He is with us in every trial, walking beside us even when we feel abandoned. As the chosen ones, we have a special connection with God, one that assures us He is always by our side. This connection becomes most evident during times of vulnerability, reminding us that we can lean on Him for comfort and strength. God extends an open invitation to all who are weary, saying, "Come to me, all you who are burdened, and I will give you rest." He is ready to carry the weight of our struggles and ease the ache in our hearts. Even in the darkest times, when we are battling through our spiritual struggles and feel overwhelmed by life's difficulties, we must hold on to the truth that God is always there. It can be hard to see the light of God when we are buried under the weight of our challenges. The temptation to lose faith or give up can be strong, but as chosen ones, we are called to remain steadfast. Even if the path ahead seems unclear or God's promises feel distant, we must trust that He is working. His timing is perfect, and even though we may not see the answers immediately, we can be assured that He is moving in ways we cannot yet perceive. Waiting on God is one of the greatest tests of faith, but it is also one of the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth. God's timing is not our own, and His ways are often beyond our understanding. Yet, we are reminded that the Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. It is in the waiting that we learn patience, trust, and perseverance. These times of stillness, where it seems like nothing is happening, are often the moments where God is doing His most important work within us. Like a farmer who plants seeds in faith, we too must trust that God is watering and cultivating the seeds of His promises in our lives. At the right time, these seeds will bear fruit. The silent periods in our lives can feel lonely and confusing. We may begin to question God's plan, wondering if He has forgotten us or if we are on the wrong path. However, we must remember that God knows every detail of our journey, even the moments when we feel lost or abandoned. He sees us, knows us, and has already mapped out the course of our lives. Even when our hearts are filled with doubt, we can trust that God is greater than our fears. His plans for us are always for good, even when we cannot see the full picture. One of the hardest lessons to learn as a chosen one is to wait on God's perfect timing. We live in a world that celebrates instant gratification. Everything seems to move quickly: technology, communication, results, but God's work in our lives often unfolds more slowly. It's not because He is withholding blessings from us, but because He is preparing us for something greater than we could ever imagine. In these times of waiting, we are being shaped and molded, growing in character and in faith. Patience is a virtue that doesn't come easily, but it is a necessary part of our spiritual journey. It teaches us to trust in God's plan, even when we cannot see how things will unfold. During these waiting periods, God is strengthening our faith and preparing us for the blessings that are yet to come. Like Joseph, who endured betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment before stepping into his divine purpose, we too must trust that God is working all things for our good. What seems like a delay is often God's way of preparing us for something much bigger. In the story of Joseph, we see a powerful example of how God's delays are not denials. Joseph had dreams of greatness, but before those dreams could be fulfilled, he endured years of hardship. Through these trials, God was shaping him for the role he would eventually take as governor of Egypt. Similarly, God uses our waiting periods to build our character and prepare us for the responsibilities and blessings that lie ahead. Just as Joseph's brothers intended to harm him, but God used their actions for good, we can trust that God is using even our difficulties for a greater purpose. Another clear example of waiting on God is the story of Abraham and Sarah. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, yet years passed, and the promise seemed impossible. In their impatience, Sarah suggested that Abraham take matters into his own hands, resulting in complications and frustration. This story reminds us that rushing God's plan only leads to disappointment. It is in waiting and trusting in His timing that we see the fullness of His faithfulness. In due time, Sarah conceived Isaac, the child of promise, proving that God's delays are never failures but divine preparation. As chosen ones, we are called to endure the waiting with faith, patience, and trust. The wait is not a passive time, but a period of active preparation. We are being strengthened for what lies ahead, and our faith is being deepened. Patience, as the Bible teaches, produces perseverance, and perseverance, in turn, produces character. This character will sustain us through the trials we face and lead us to the fulfillment of God's promises in our lives. While we wait, it is important to remember that God is always at work, even if we cannot see it. Behind the scenes, He is aligning circumstances, preparing hearts, and adjusting details to bring His perfect plan into place. The story of Lazarus teaches us that even when it seems like God is delaying, He is actually setting the stage for a greater miracle. Jesus did not immediately go to Lazarus when He heard that he was sick, but when He did arrive, His power was revealed in a much more profound way. In the same way, God may be using the waiting period in your life to manifest something extraordinary. Trusting in God's timing is one of the most significant challenges of faith, but it is also one of the most rewarding. We may feel tempted to take control of our circumstances when the answers don't come as quickly as we'd like, but the Bible reminds us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Trying to force God's hand will only result in frustration. Instead, we are called to surrender, trusting that He knows what is best for us, even when we cannot understand the delays. There is a divine purpose in every stage of life, and every period of waiting is part of that purpose. Whether it feels like we are standing still or moving backward, God is using that time to refine our hearts and prepare us for what is next. When we let go of our need for control and trust fully in God's sovereignty, we find peace. This peace comes not from having all the answers but from knowing that God is in control, orchestrating every detail of our lives with precision and love. We must also learn to appreciate the process of waiting. It is during these moments that we grow closer to God and deepen our understanding of His character. The waiting period is an opportunity to strengthen our relationship with Him, to trust Him more fully, and to rely on His guidance. In doing so, we discover a sense of serenity that cannot be shaken by the uncertainties of life. As Isaiah 40 verse 31 reminds us, those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Waiting on God teaches us patience, perseverance, and trust. It refines our faith and prepares us for the blessings that are to come. Even when it feels like time is running out, or that opportunities are slipping away, we must remember that God's timing is always perfect. He knows the desires of our hearts, and He is faithful to fulfill them in ways that go beyond our imagination. In conclusion, as chosen ones, we are called to trust in God's timing, to wait with patience, and to have faith that He is working on our behalf. Whether we are waiting for an answer, a breakthrough, or the fulfillment of a promise, we can rest in the knowledge that God's plans are far greater than our own. In His perfect timing, we will see the fruits of our faith, and the blessings He has prepared for us will be far more than we could ever hope for.